You guys there? You guys can hear me? If you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Give me whatever is going on. I want to hear an update. I want you guys to know what is going on. You guys need to be in the know. Again, as always here at PincheAls Garage, we're always here to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Saying hi to everyone. What's up? What's up? What's up, fam? I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. All I'm trying to say is that we have great news, and it's great news for everyone. But before I give you guys the great news, I need to make sure that you guys can hear me. Number one, on Instagram, can you guys hear me? What's up? Give me a thumbs up. I got Angel. Making sure people can hear me. Yeah, there's a lot of background noise. You guys can see all the stuff behind me. You can't hear me? Let's see. This is why I gotta ask. Gotta make sure if you guys can hear me. Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? That's why I'm asking. Probably have to make you guys closer to me. Not too close. But can you guys hear me? Yep. Sean Prophet can hear me. All right. Euro gang. What's up? What's up? So the great news is we officially signed the last batch of very important paperwork for the house. So Sean Prophet, the guy that's on here, is the guy that made it possible, and I appreciate you, buddy, so much. You have no idea. If you guys don't know who Sean Prophet is, he's my real estate agent. You guys gotta give him a big old thumbs up. That man made our dream possible, and without him, we wouldn't be able to get this beautiful home that we got in Ramona, California. Dude, all I gotta say is major thanks, because you made it happen, and the future of PincheAls Garage is because of him. So that's the great news. That is the very great news that finally happened. We've done the final portion of the paperwork. We got all the super important gibberish nonstop paperwork signing here, left and right. It's all done. All right. So PincheAls Garage is going from a 1/4 acre. Put this in perspective: a 1/4 of an acre, all the way to 2.25 acres, which is literally 9 times the size of the current property we have now. All right. Just put that in your perspective. So much more space for activities, so much more space for cars, and just stuff to happen in the future. So as you guys know, we're officially sponsored by Eurotuning. Eurotuning is waiting for content, and I'm going to give them content. I know I promised you guys some VR6 content. It's in my hard drive. It's all ready to go, but I'm trying to wait for the new home so I can release all the new content. I'm going to give Eurotuning the ultimatum on Monday that I'm holding out on a lot of content because I want to show the new home. I want to show off the new workshop that we're going to design and build for PincheAls Garage. We're going to show off all this cool stuff that we're going to get ready to do. And the way that this is going to happen is, again, until we move in. And the move date is the 26th of this month. 3 weeks away. We're officially 3 weeks away from our new place in Ramona, California. So it's exciting stuff, guys. You guys have no idea how excited I am for this, because this is a huge change. This is a drastic change. We're actually going to have a dedicated garage for building cars, making content, and moving forward in a much higher pace, but with higher quality content. That's what I'm dedicating this build, this new home for, is for super high quality content, stuff that we can walk you through step by step without any hesitation, no matter what time of day it is. And that's why I'm doing this, because now we're gonna have a garage where it's fully lit. It can be 2 in the morning and we can be making content, and we're not worried about the weather outside, the time of day, lighting, none of that. Right now, that's my current problem. It's 7 o'clock, it's night, and I can't even work in my garage because, number one, there's no space. Number two, it's cold as all hell outside. Yeah, I'm being a little whiny little girl, but that's just how it is, you know? Where are you guys going to be located or relocating to? We're going to be in Ramona, California. It's only 25 minutes from my current location in Escondido. Not bad. 25 minutes is nothing. It's a nice little drive. And if you guys are going to come, we're probably going to use that road to Ramona. And since I'm closer to Julian, we're going to be doing some canyon carving with some of the new... exactly. No one likes working on cars outside. We're going to be able to do some canyon car test, like our VR6 build. We're going to be doing some hard drive testing there. We're going to be able to do some like... Test. Okay, back again. That was kind of weird. Um, but yeah, we're going to be able to do a lot of testing for suspension, very specific suspension modifications. We're going to be able to do because there are areas in that there's a lot of courses or roads that are super windy that'll let us test a lot of the stuff we want to do with our built cars. Number two, there's already two really popular off-road courses for the Jetta to be driving in. So we got two testing grounds right pretty much in our backyard for testing the Outlander or any off-road builds we do, and for any canyon or racing we're going to do for fine-tuning suspension, turbo builds, or any of our cars in general. There's a lot of areas where we're going to be that we're going to be able to test this stuff. And this is going to help us fine-tune a lot of our builds. And it's right down the road. It's super cool. So, again, the 26th is our move-in date, actually moving in. So one thing I'm going to need help with, I know Sean Profit's going to be hooking it up with a truck and trailer to help me move cars. I need some people to hook it up with some cars that are willing to help me move some engines, tools, my toolbox, pretty much all my crazy heavy stuff that I don't want to box up because it's not safe boxing up. So if you guys in 3 weeks got some time off and want to hang out and, you know, drink and eat some pizza and chill and talk about cars and just talk about, you know, anything, and you guys can see the new home, I need your help. I need your guys' help in 3 weeks to help move some of this stuff. Again, Sean Profit's already got a truck and trailer for me. Haha. Thank you, Kennedy. That was the goal. Great news, everyone. That was the goal. So I know I said this before, but again, I'm reiterating, I'm rephrasing, and making sure people know that this is going to happen. Oh man, Andres, he got himself a 2002 GTI VR6 with the 12 valve and wants to start modding already. Pretty straightforward if you're going to stick with your NA, so that means naturally aspirated engine without going turbo. You're going to need a tune, intake, and exhaust, cams. Highly recommend doing your timing, all your timing bits on it before you do anything else to that car. Okay, give it a make sure you give it a compression test. Make sure your compression is legit. Do your timing kit, so do your chains, do all your stuff. I would, again, your first thing I would do on that motor is a compression test. Anything that's pretty much 15, 20 years old, which is going to be your GTI, compression test that mother, because you got to make sure all 6 cylinders are holding proper compression. Because if you're going to drive that car hard, you got to make sure it's going to be reliable in doing that. So if your compression test pretty much reads out healthy, then again, I would highly recommend do cams, do an intake, do an exhaust. Exhaust meaning don't touch your headers, the factory exhaust manifold and the factory collector, flawless. It's not, I don't recommend touching that system. It's already pretty much perfect. All you want to do is a cap back. So pretty much a 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 all the way out with a good muffler. That thing will sound, number one, amazing. It will flow properly. You want a little bit of back pressure. That's why I'm saying keep the stock exhaust manifolds and the collector, aka the downpipe. You'll see it when you get to that. You'll see it's like you have two little manifolds, and then they go to that and they go link up to it, and you'll be good. Again, pretty much a catback exhaust, intake and a tune. You're done. And do some cams. I probably do like 264 cams. In other words, like a street or a sport cam. Don't go too aggressive on it, because if you're going to go more aggressive, you're going to need to build the head. The head requires definitely building. You definitely need to go better intake and exhaust valves. You're going to need to upgrade to HD springs, or titanium springs is what we call them, because you don't want to do something called valve float, where the valve just stays in one spot and then you end up bending the valve. When you start putting cams, that means the rotation of the cam is a more aggressive and a longer turn, which in turn will cause pretty much the valve to float, because you don't have a strong enough spring to push that valve fast enough back up. Again, that's why you got to build the head. Okay? Cams, I highly recommend doing, again, sport, or what they call street cams, which are like 264 cams. Perfect for a VR6. Probably upgrade the springs and then leave it alone from there. I mean, again, it just depends. I have a 2010 MK6 TSI. I need to change my clutch to a stage 2. Would you recommend taking it to a shop or change it, try to do it yourself? Honestly, those clutches are pretty easy to do. They're like any other car, honestly. They're not that difficult to do a clutch on them. The hardest part out of a Mark 6 clutch and up, Mark 6 and up, the actual shaft. So, you know, the shaft where the clutch actually goes into, or where it drives into, is weak. It's actually not very strong. They're notorious for bending or cracking when you let the transmission sit on them. On a Mark IV, the shafts on those things are freaking gnarly strong. You can drop a freaking clutch, a transmission on them, they can give two shits about it. But on a Mark 6, they're weak. They're the weak point on that drivetrain, actually. So if you're going to have friends with you, definitely the process for... I actually have a DIY on my YouTube channel for a Mark 6 clutch job. So it's pretty easy. I did it with two people, with me and one of my friend Jason Sablon. Not that hard of a job. It's just the shaft portion. Personally, remove the control arms. So you want to remove pretty much the entire drivetrain. So you want to take off the axles, remove the control arms, spindles on the passengers. On the driver's side, because when the transmission drops, so when you pull the transmission and you have it drop, it's gonna drop kind of like this, really aggressively towards the subframe. And yeah, the input shaft. Thank you. It wants to aggressively fall towards the subframe and get stuck there. So, so when it gets stuck there, you're gonna have it sit on the input shaft, and it's gonna damage it. You're gonna score it or really aggressively hurt it. So, I recommend with a buddy underneath the transmission, literally sits underneath the car while you're pulling it up. Him trying to wiggling it and turning. You turn the transmission. You're gonna turn it counterclockwise, so the axle cups move up and over, and then that way you clock it out. One other issue that you're gonna have that's gonna be in the way, by the radiator, the heater hose gets in the way as well. Not the heater hose, the upper radiator hose wants to get caught with some of the equipment there, that when you're turning it, it's kind of a nuisance. So just keep that in mind. It is notorious for damaging when you pull those transmissions out. I did my wife's Mark 6 transmission by myself, putting a new throttle bearing and a clutch on her car completely by myself, and I was able to do it in under 6 hours. And that's off and on, all by myself. So if I could do it by myself, never done it by myself. I've done it with a friend, but I've never done it by myself. So yeah. I wouldn't touch the subframe, like dropping the subframe, because it changes all the geometry of the body after the fact. That means you're going to need a really aggressive alignment versus just doing a typical alignment with just removing all that. I wouldn't touch that, Sam. I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but it's not something that I would personally do. Kennedy, what are you cutting on that vinyl? I'm actually making, I make Kermit Tdi's merchandise. So, yeah, I do that. So that's what's cutting right now is the Kermit Tdi stickers. We make all their merchandise for them. Exactly. You got to turn it just a tad because you also have to remove the axle cup on the passenger side. If you didn't remove the axle cup, that sucker was stuck in there for a minute. Yeah, exactly. Yo, yo, yo. Test, test. 1, 2. We're back on. I don't know. I don't think it detects that it's connected to my stuff. So yeah. I'm not mining Bitcoin. I don't mine Bitcoin. I actually mine SHIB. I do a lot of SHIB mining because SHIB runs on a completely different network called well, you can mine SHIB on and move it through what we call Ethereum network, but I don't move it through the Ethereum network. I actually move it through the Binance network, which costs me 11 cents per transaction. If you move it through the Ethereum network, it's anywhere from $15 to $100 to move that coin. It's a waste of money mining that coin, or any coin in general on the Ethereum network. So, but we do mine SHIB coin, and I use what they call unminable for mining that. By the way, if you ever guys have any questions about that, that's what I use for my mining, is unminable.com. Awesome website, really really easy to use, and you can bounce between different networks to save money crypto mining. Yep, that's right. And again, a lot of this money that you guys see here in the background being mined is for the future of PincheAls Garage. It doesn't make me a fortune. It makes me money to get ready for the future. How's my ROI on that hardware? Well, let me put you in perspective on how my ROI was because of my solar setup at home. Currently, my solar panel setup makes an average of, what is it, 1,000 kilowatts per day. So just put that in perspective. I make about 1,000 kilowatts. This setup here is about 4,500 watts, almost 5,000 watts. So currently my ROI per month, because California has some SDG&E has some stupid fees beyond belief. But my average electrical bill now with this and all my other stuff running in my house, like for my family and whatnot, I pay about almost $400 to $600 a month, and I make about $3,000 a month. So I'm taking home about $2,400. Not bad, you know, not bad at all. So it's a pretty decent profit. But all that money is literally being banked. I'm not using it for anything. It's just sitting there until pretty much the new home gets, once we start moving into the new home, we're going to use that to buy new appliances. We're going to use it to buy solar panels. We're going to use it to pretty much get my family in a good situation. Because I'm kind of like, I'm out of money. I'm literally broke as a joke right now from buying this new home. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. All right, give me just a moment. I actually got to get the next sheet going. If you guys want to see, I mean, I'm always busy doing something. And I'm always busy multitasking while I'm doing something. So, right now we're making Kermit Tdi stickers. We make the 6-inch and an 8-inch stickers for them. We also make the koozies, lanyards, and that's it for them. So if you ever order a product from Kermit Tdi and you get like a koozie or like a goodie box in there, it actually comes from us. You know, this is where we make it. And everything we do is by hand. My wife is involved, my nephew. It's like a family run little thing that we do together. And because of that, Kerma, we use a lot of that money for our YouTube videos, actually. This money goes directly back into YouTube that we make for our content here that we create. Actually, the last order they made from us was we was able to afford to buy a GoPro and some more supplies for the. It helped me buy my new GoPro. I was able to buy, what else I was able to buy for our home? Oh yeah, we bought a new hard drive for backing up. It also paid for, what did it pay for? Oh yeah, a couple replacement parts for the Jetta. Andres goes short, Ram. You're not going to see any difference with the cold air intake. Cold air intakes are literally complete jokes. Buy a cheap little intake that just works and fits. Just make sure it's the same size diameter of the MAF sensor, which is 3-inch, I believe, on the VR6. How many GPUs and what kind? Ooh, very good question. Number one, I use extremely low wattage GPUs. I actually use AMD cards. We use what we call the RX 6600s. They're $400 GPUs, 500 if you can find them. I mean, 500 on average. But the RX 6600, which has a 30 hash rate at 55 watts. It's insanely efficient. So each rig that you see back there has a 400 watt usage. Kubernetes at all? I don't know what that is, Sam. So each miner on there has a 230 hash rate at 400 watts, which if you really put in perspective how much power that is, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. That's an extremely efficient mining setup because it's such low power. To put another example, put it in another perspective, I have another rig in there that has AMD 5700 XTs. Each one of those 5700 XTs has a hash rate of 50, but at 120 watts. So let's put that in perspective. So 120 watts at 50 hash rate. If I bought two RX 6600s, which will give me 60 hash at 100 watts, you see that? You see that? I just saved myself 50 watts or 20, 30 watts, and I made more money. So you have to really turn and look at your wattage per hash rate. It's pretty crazy. Finish up a backup cam on my MK5 Rabbit. Everything works great. Accessory power when the car is turned on. Thoughts? Never had this issue before. Well, it depends on what accessory power did you get, because there are multiple different locations for an accessory power. Which one did you use? And number two, did you use the accessory power in the fuse box, or did you use the accessory power in the engine bay? There's two different locations for that. So if you use the one on the fuse box, it's not an accessory, an active accessory wire all the time. It's probably a timed one that probably turns on, that loses power after a certain amount of time when you turn the key off. So you need to get yourself a voltmeter and start with the ignition completely turned off. You need to go in there and start probing and make sure it's 12 volts and not an 11 or a 9 volt one, because since you're using anything Mark 5 and newer, they have what they call a voltage that goes up and down based on what the car is doing. So if that accessory power runs at, like, say when the car is off, like at 9 or 8 volts, it's not going to retain memory. It's going to always lose its settings. So you need to find one that's a constant 12 volts even when the key is off. So That's what a voltmeter is for, man. You need to start going in there and just checking every single fuse until you find one that works. So again, the great news, everybody, for all those who are tuning in. Number one, we got the house. We're finally gonna be ready to move in on the 26th. Yeah, no problem, Andrew, I mean. What website do I recommend? Eurotuning, buddy. Eurotuning.com. They actually have good stuff. For like an intake, honestly, keep your factory one, okay? Don't throw away your original factory intake. Lame. This headset keeps turning off. I gotta figure out what's going on. So, one thing is I always recommend is if you do it in intake and you're just gonna drive it on a daily, and if you have to go smog your car, take the factory intake box, store it, and put it back. Okay? Go buy a cheap eBay intake. You're not gonna notice any drastic differences between a brand name intake and a cheap eBay one. Again, intakes don't give you power. They just keep flow consistent. A lot of companies are going to argue that, oh, we got graphs to show you this. Those are best case scenario graphs. In other words, they built an intake, they crammed a gigantic fan in front of the car, proper temperature, it's probably ambient temperature of like 60 degrees. It's like the best scenario in the world to give you those numbers or those gains that they state. Again, that's all best case scenario. But in fact, the factory airbox is restrictive. I'm not going to say no, they're not restricted. They are a restrictive box, and they are, they do not perform as well as just a nice big old tube with the cone filter at the end. You definitely want to buy a good quality air filter. Exactly. See, you know exactly what I mean. Sort of did. Just keep your factory box and store it, put it away. Forget about it until you have to go smog it. Pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy. But again, just go buy a cheap eBay one. Again, there's not major benefits on an intake. All you're doing, what really does help is the P-Flow's good, Andrew. That's not bad. It's a good little short ram intake. It's a good little intake. It's new speed. You can't complain about new speed. New speed's good stuff. But again, intakes, they don't do anything, honestly. That is also correct, Andrew. They do resist heat. However, they're still restrictive. That's the downside. They are more restrictive than a cold air, like a normal intake with the big old pipe coming out of it. So, on Andrew's comment, they do heat soak. So, to prevent heat soak, you probably want to cover in some type of heat reflective material, and done. Easy fix. Caleb Fletcher, 1.8T. Hey, I blew my turbo. Would you recommend rebuilding it with new seals? I'm on a budget. Well, it depends on how it blew. If the seals just blew, if the seals just blew and you just need to rebuild the turbo, try it. You're gonna spend what, $70? No, about $150. It's a big maybe. Personally, I would go find a shop that does turbo rebuilds and have them rebuild it. You're probably gonna spend about $200 to $400, but it's cheaper than buying a cheap KO4 turbo. I'm just telling you that. Why do I say that? Because you go buy a cheap KO4 turbo for $200 to $400, and then it's gonna blow up and then cause even bigger problems, and then your $400 ends up becoming $1,000 to a $2,000 bill. Don't do it. That's my personal recommendation. Go find a reputable shop that does rebuilds and have them rebuild it for you. Okay? Pretty straightforward. You're not gonna spend a fortune, but you'll spend some money and you're gonna get something reliable, which is what I would prefer over some cheap Chinese part that you buy for dirt cheap and you end up paying 2 to 4 times as much because you went cheap. That's only my suggestion. Wineberry. Could an SI delete improve the 1.8 AT engine? No. The SAI delete does not improve anything. It simplifies. Okay? Put that in your perspective, okay? Don't have tunnel vision. Open your mind and listen. It simplifies the engine bay by removing the smog equipment. Removing the smog equipment is necessary in certain states, but if you don't give up about it, then take it out. However, you are going to need, number one, resistors, or number two, if you want to do it right, get a tune to remove all the stuff out of that engine bay. Now, understand this, guys. Removing the SAI does not give you any improvement or performance improvement. It just gets rid of stuff that personally isn't necessary. But if you like smog and all that crap in your state, then I would probably recommend keeping all your SAI stuff in a box, put it away, get your tune, get it running, and then when you're done, and when it comes back to time in smogging, put it all back in, go past smog, and then take it all back out. I know it's a hassle, guys, but that's what's going to happen, you know? So again, it just simplifies your engine base. So that way you only have the necessary stuff for your car to run, so you have less things that have a problem down the road. Easier to diagnose vacuum and boost leaks, easier to just do anything in the engine bay in general. So it's a big plus to me. It's a big no-no to the state that you live in. Okay, hey Pinche, any suggestions on getting a C's CV boot out of a 2000? Yeah, easy. So you mean if the axle is seized inside the spindle, you gotta be more specific. Or are you talking about the little axle bolts that are on the actual the bolts? Okay, the little tiny 12s, the little tiny ones that go around, right? The ones, there's 6 of them. Okay, yes, I have an easy solution for you, okay? But it's going to ruin them because you probably already stripped most of them more likely by now. But there's a good solution, okay? Number 1, get yourself a torch, okay? Number 2, get yourself a really good set of vice grips, okay? Like a really good set, not the curved ones, but the flat ones. And this is what I mean. I'll be right back. Hold on. All right, so these guys right here, see, these are flat, and you can buy other vice grips that are like curved. Don't get the curved ones, because what happens with the curved ones, they actually just contour to the shape, and it doesn't really get a good grip, okay? Well, the heat is what's going to solve the problem, okay? But if you can't get them out already with that and they're not breaking loose, you're gonna have to use this method if you can't get them out with just your typical hand tools, because they're now the other issue is the axle spinning when you're trying to break them loose. So when you're trying to break it loose, it just spins because you don't have anything locking them in place. Is that the other problem you're having? Okay. Solution already. Okay. So make sure the wheel is off the hub. You want to put 2 lug nuts into your hub, okay? Because this is for safety. So you put 2 wheels in your hub. Now, your brake caliper. No, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that, Nick. On your brake caliper, okay? Your actual disc brake has some holes in it. It's vented. Get a nice little screwdriver like this. Now on your caliper, there's a hole where you can put your screwdriver in, and the disc brake, put the screwdriver into the disc brake. Okay? Not on the front of the disc brake, but on the side, on the round portion. You'll see little holes around the disc brake. You put it in between the caliper and that. That will lock pretty much the axle from spinning. Okay? So you put that in. Test, 1, 2. Okay. So you put that in there. Okay? Once you put it in there, now you can just turn it and you can break loose the bolts. So every time you break 1 or 2, you need to take the screwdriver back out and rotate the axle again. Put the screwdriver back in and do 2 more at a time. You can do 2 at a time. Okay, and the reason why we put the lug nuts in there is because you want the lug nuts to prevent because if you don't have the set screw for the rotor, and the set screw is not very strong because you can snap that screw. You put 2 lug nuts in there, it just prevents the rotor from spinning just on its own. It's going to sit there and spin. The lug nuts just prevent the rotor from spinning. The screwdriver prevents the axle from spinning. Okay? And that's it. That's how you do the axles by yourself. It's super, super easy. Okay, I have another question. Do you have any advice to remove an axle from the knuckle? I'm replacing the whole steering knuckle and replacing the CV boot. But of course. Thank you, says 93. 1.8T for life. Mark 4, buddy. That's right. Mark 4 gang. Mark K4. We got to figure out a gang saying for Mark 4 gang. Okay. So, yes, I do have a if it's stuck in the actual spindle or the steering knuckle, if you don't care for damaging your axle, because the axles are super cheap for 5 speeds, what you want to do, okay, you're going to get the axle nut, that big old nut that sits on the end of the axle. You want to turn it until it gets to the edge, okay? So when it gets all over the edge, so when that big old axle nut that's inside the spindle, okay, it's going to go to the edge, okay? You want it there, all right? Right on the edge. Now what you want to do is look for a big old 3-pound sledgehammer, all right? And you're just going to wail on that nut right in the middle of that hole. Make sure the sledgehammer's end's pretty small so it fits in that hole nicely. And you're literally just going to wail on it with that hammer. It's going to damage the nut. But if you're smart enough and you left it, again, if you left the nut right on the edge, okay, it won't damage the threads. You'll just damage the nut, okay? And just keep wailing on that. It'll pop right out. Eventually, you'll hit it hard enough, it'll just pop right out of the socket, and then just take the thread, the bolt off, and you're done. Axle's out. But be careful because the hub is around there too, where it centers the wheel. That's why I said you got to get a small hammer and hit it right in the middle. Because if you damage the outside, you need to get some sandpaper or a grinding wheel and start grinding and making that surface round again. Because if not, that wheel will never go back on. Now I have a I have a drive lines too far each side. I have to control the control arms. Cool, cool. That's good. That's good, Nick. So hopefully that advice helps you guys out. It's easy stuff, guys. I know it's your first time doing it. It's your first Mark IV. And then I'm giving you guys this really cool thing. We have a fresh Mark IV wagon. I know I talked about this last time. You guys saw a sneak peek of the Mark IV Jetta wagon that we have. We have a complete virgin. I mean, virgin Mark IV wagon. That's for you guys on YouTube. You guys are going to tell us what to do when we go to the new house. So you guys got to understand that's coming up very, very soon. So be excited for that, guys, because, oh, man, there's a lot to do. Caleb, going from a 1.8T to a VR6 is not hard. The hardest portion of the entire thing, your entire job, is that you need a VR6 transmission. Okay, so you got to put that in your to-do list. You need a VR6 transmission. You need the VR6 wire harness. The 1.8T harness does not work with it. So you got to get the engine harness. Just remember that, which considers the left and the right side of the harness and the ECU. You also need a VR6 ECU. So if you don't have that, none of that's going to work. But everything else should be fine. The cluster is not necessary. You can have the immobilizer deleted, and that will solve the problem for the cluster mating. The immobilizer is what prevents the cluster and ECU and the key to work correctly. But if you have the immobilizer defeated, or aka deleted, you will be able to do that swap with no problems. Depending on which VR6 you get, though, and which generation car, you might want to consider getting the fancy cluster, because some of those VR6s have the full cluster with all the readouts on it versus our 1.8. Us 1.8T guys just got the basic cluster with just basic readouts. A lot of the VR6s came with a fancy readout, which had like outdoor and indoor temperature and all this other cool stuff. So that might be something you want to consider as well. You're welcome, Caleb. That's what we're here for. That's what PincheAls Garage is all about. Taking care of one another and answering any advice that you guys have. You know, and again, be ready. In 3 weeks, we have a new place, and I need your help. So be excited for that, because, yo. Dan, what's up, fool? What's up, Dwayne? ¿Qué onda? Yo. We need your help. Go for it, Nick. I'm right here, man. Ask away. That's what we're here for. My SAI, the switch that goes on top, has some corrosion or whatever damage. I think I forgot what the previous owner said. What can I do to fix it? I want to keep my SAI unless I don't need it. Okay, so your secondary air injection, that big old black pump that sits right next to your alternator and AC compressor, right underneath them, sandwiched in between them, that pump has 2 wires that come out of it and they go to a harness. That's it. So I don't know what corrosion are you talking about. They don't really have corrosion. It's just 2 wires that turn that pump on and off. So are you talking about maybe the fan relay module that sits underneath the driver's side rail? It's a big old black module right here that has 2 big old wires that go into it. Is that what you're talking about? Have you ever heard of the wiring burning up from the fans? Yes, Nick Guerrera. Yes. Yes. So remember, motors are pretty much they're fan motors are massive power drawers. You'll notice the wire coming out of those motors are like 8-gauge wire. They're the thickest wires on your harness besides like the main power from the battery. So on the fans, whenever the motor starts to like fail and get what we call gain resistance, because the motor is failing and it's trying to draw power to keep that fan rotating, even though it's like failing, it will do its best to keep the fan going and going and going. So what will happen is that it'll draw so much power until pretty much one or two things are going to happen. Either the fuse blows, or the wiring will literally just melt because it's so hot. Because again, it's creating so much resistance that that wire will just short out and just melt. So yes, it does happen, and it happens actually pretty often on Mark IVs, or actually most cars with fans in general. I mean, it's just a common occurrence. So personally, if you have 20-year-old fans in your Mark IV, replace them. They're dirt cheap. You can replace them for about $100 a fan. That is super cheap. And make sure you get OEM style fans. Don't buy universal replacements. The OEM style fans, replace them with OEM fans. I'm just telling you guys. Hayden Grant, thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yes, it's on the harness. Again, it's the SAI pump is a motor. So yes, it can cause what you're saying it's causing, where the you get corrosion, or you'll get some issues pulling too much current. It's a motor. That's what happens. There's no switch that connects to that. What controls the SAI pump is the hold on. Is the ECU. The ECU controls that. There's no switch for that. Or the combi valve. Can't remember. It's one of the two. I forgot what controls it. All right, GCS Euro. I'm turbocharging an ABA in my Mark 1 Rabbit. I just did the swap, and now I'm ready for boost. What's your options in ABA eval motors, and would you ever do an ABA build, or have you done one before? Okay. ABAs are stupid cool motors, and they're easy to boost. The only downside of boosting an ABA motor, first, if you didn't build it for boost, you're only going to get so much power. On ABA with a nice little T3, T4 turbo, you could probably get about 200 to 220 horsepower without blowing up the motor. About 10 to 12 PSI is what we're looking at. If you want to go beyond that, you definitely need to build that head for flow. Those little 8-valve heads don't have massive amounts of flow, so you're going to have to go oversized valves. You definitely have to cam it, doing all the big boy pistons and rods, but it's 100% doable, man. And a lot of people do it. Don't listen to other people saying, don't waste your time. It's dope. It's a cool build, and it's something I've actually multiple times have considered, just haven't had the time or the opportunity to do it. Okay, mine are burnt. Me and a buddy bypassed and put a relay switch on it and ran to Canon, but keep blowing relays every few months. Thermostatic switch. You need to get new fans, dude. That's pretty much all it is, or a new pump. Say Nick. Now another thing about my Mark IV, it has this idea. There is a secondary pump, and there is a cold air intake on mine. So, if that stuff is deleted, and if it doesn't have the resistor or the tune, you're gonna keep throwing check engine lights, and the car is actually gonna run poorly. You gotta have the resistors to trick it. Number one, to trick it to think that it's still there, or a tune so it's just not there. That's how you get around that. Got an 01 Jetta 1.2, getting a code for a cam position sensor. actuator circuit, what would that be? Fixed by replacing the cam position sensor, or also would that cause an idle kind of jump up and down, then stall? Ooh, X tripping. You probably have messed up timing. Usually cam position sensors don't fail very often or at all. More than likely, that's correct, Nick Guerrera. So more than likely your timing is off on that car. So what I would recommend you doing, take the valve cover off, check your timing points on your valve cover number. We'll leave the valve cover on first, I'm sorry. Time it to top dead center for the crank and the cam gear. Take the valve cover off, and then make sure your cam gear is timed as well. What can happen is that you can have, excuse me, you can have your chain or hydraulic tensioner fail, where it'll skip a tooth, or your belt has stretched so much that you might have a tooth that skipped, or your belt has sheared a tooth off, and you're missing a tooth, and that happens very often, especially for people who don't commonly change or consistently change their timing belts on proper intervals. So Wally boy, that's right. Possibly jump a tooth. Again, cam sensors very rarely fail. It's a very uncommon problem for them. So more than likely, its timing is jacked. And hopefully you only got off by a tooth or so, because more than one tooth, if you jump 2 to 3 teeth, those valves are bent, buddy. So yeah, man, double check your timing. Very, very important. And for you guys on Instagram, thank you for tuning in. This is PincheAls Garage live. Damn, what's up, Hayden Grant? What's up, buddy? You mean the hydraulic tensioner, not the belt tensioner, Wally boy. Are you talking about the little one with the little piston, or are you talking about the idle tensioner that's built in there? Because a belt tensioner, there's two different types of belt tensioners on the Mark IV. There's the automated one for the accessory belt, and then there's a hydraulic one. Good job, X-Trippin'. And if you have any questions, take really good pictures of it and send them to me. I'll help you out and make sure. Took you long enough, Hayden. Jeez. Okay, so the hydraulic tensioner, the little piston, hopefully he replaced that when he bought it, because you never reuse the original one. You always replace them when you do the job. Okay? Every time you do a timing job on your car, make sure all the timing components are new and you're not reusing any of the old stuff. Nice. Everybody's buying trucks lately. Oh, what's up, Mendy, bro? Mede, bro. Hello, hello, hello. Good job, X-Trippin'. That's the way you do it. LOI, burnt an accessory belt and tensioner one morning. Had to drive 7 miles without power steering. That was fun. Yeah. No power steering on a Mark IV is nuts. It is hard. Those cars are heavy, man. Super heavy cars. I got time for a couple more questions, guys, and then I'm going to call it quits. Guys have any more questions before I say goodbye? Roger Chokate. Yes, I am. Let me go. Let me go this way. There you go. I built a little crypto mining farm. D-Way, yes, you can. You can delete the Vvt Solenoid. If you're gonna go that route, make sure you talk to a tuner before doing so, because tunes for 1.8Ts do call for the VVT. There are some tunes that don't call for it. You're gonna have to do your research and find a tuner that's willing to tune the car without the VVT solenoid, okay? Because that solenoid does control timing. So if you're going to remove it or tune it out, you're going to have to keep that in mind, okay? Now, there are some heads that do not have it, aka the AEB head, the big boy head for our 1.8Ts. Those do not come with VVT. However, you can convert them to VVT. Some tuners don't mind not having that, but you need to talk to them. That's all I got to say about that. Any recommendations for a tune for a VR? Of course, Andres. Boost dynamic tuning. Enough said. BDT. Hit up Trent Smith, bro. He is a magician with tunes. Now, he's the first person I ever got tuned for a VR6. I appreciate that, Hayden. Or Grant. I like calling you Grant instead. Any recommendations? Again, Boost Dynamic Tuning has some good tunes for VR6s. I definitely recommend hitting up, what is it? Oh my goodness. Euro Customs also has a really good, Eurodyne. Really good tunes for VR6s. So definitely hit those guys up. There's not a lot of people that have tunes for them. That's the only downside, you know, so. Yeah, so again, some heads don't have it, so that can happen. So if it doesn't have EVT and you don't want to have EVT in it, you don't have to add it, but you're gonna have to have it tuned out. If not, it will throw code. Ooh, Moog? Bro, Moog is good stuff. Good stuff. I all day. Moog, they make legit hubs, spindles, they make good bearings, they make good stuff. If you can get Moog parts for your Mark 4 or Mark 3, 2 or 1, buy them. Good stuff, man. Ooh, excuse me. All right. If we don't have any more questions, we're going to call it done. Yeah. I agree with you, D-Way. I definitely agree with you. Moog is good. And sometimes Moog is only like a couple bucks more than like the cheap Chinese stuff, which is weird, right? I mean, I remember I bought the hubs for my Mark IV. Duralast was like $55 and Moog was only like 60. So I was like, eh. Yeah. Good job, Nick. That's it. It's weird. It's only a couple bucks more, and it's way better than the cheap stuff that's at like AutoZone. I don't know why they just don't just not sell the cheap stuff and just keep selling Moog. It's good stuff. All right. Looks like exactly D-Way. See, I like that answer. All right. We've been on here for an hour. I think I'm good. Yeah, you're welcome, man. That's what we're here for. We're here for the knowledge. We're here to help each other out. And if I don't have the answer, I know someone on here does. There's always someone on here that has a really good amount of knowledge about what's going on, and even if I don't have an answer. And if I do, well, hopefully it's the right answer, you know? All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I just want to give you guys the great news. In 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to show you guys the new home, the new location, the new site for the new shop, all this other cool stuff coming very, very soon. So please, thank you for everything. And one more thing. You guys keep asking why my online store is closed. It's closed because I don't have a shop right now. Everything's gone. You notice all my shelves are barren. You see here. What is it? Yep. All my stuff is gone. I don't have anything. I've been packing my entire home. So I can't do any custom work with all my products. So again, guys, when you guys are asking about my online store, it's closed for the moment. It's not permanent. It's just closed. So be patient. We're going to be back. We have a ton of new products coming. So be ready. Keep your wallets, you know, closed, and don't let it burn a hole in your pocket. We got a bunch of coupons coming, so you guys can get some discounts on our online store. A bunch of other stuff is coming soon. So please, Mark 4 for life. You guys have a good time. And oh, my little girl. Ah. Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Yeah, you see me. Look. This is my little girl. She's adorable. So, again, have a good one. You guys be safe out there. And as always here at PincheAls Garage, we're going to break, we're going to fix, and we're going to repeat. Peace out, everyone, and have a wonderful day. No. You can stab someone with that.